Welcome back to the Random and Wonderful podcast. I'm your host, Grace Simmons, your favorite solo travel mindset coach. Each episode, we explore ways to uplift you on your journey to add joy, confidence, and independence into your life. Today's topic is healing through travel with Stephany Ann. All right. So, fun question just to get us started. Stephany, what was a childhood dream of yours?
Oh gosh. So I grew up watching Indiana Jones and I loved all the adventures. Like he was always going and exploring and going to all these unknown places and doing all this cool stuff. And so when I was younger, I wanted to do that too. I wanted to travel around the world and to explore, see the world, and like Indiana Jones.
Okay, so I'm excited then because that's going to lead to another question, which was what inspired you to travel? Have you achieved that childhood goal then?
Yes and no. So
okay.
So again, growing up watching all the Indiana Jones movies and all the, it was like Alan Quartermain and the Lost City of Gold.
Yes.
I'm a child of the 80s and early 90s, so all the super, super cheesy adventure movies. And then we got National Geographic's magazine. And so, you're looking through these magazines as a child, and it's like, gosh, I want to go there. I want to go and experience this. I want to see this. I want to go see the Himalayas. I want to go to the Papua New Guinea and see all these where, people still are real primitive. And so just that love of adventure, I think some are born with it. And I know I certainly was born with it. If there's something there, I want to go experience it. I want to see it. I want to climb it. I want to be a part of it. I want to go to a little ceremony with a whole bunch of dancers somewhere in the middle of a forest or the jungle.
Yes.
I don't know why. I've always been that way.
What clicked for you to either give yourself permission or what snapped for you where you realized, you know what, I can go to those different places that I've been reading about or watching?
I think a lot of it is it's really just doing it. You say you want to go and explore the world and go see it and go experience all these really cool things, whether the food, the people, the culture, everything. You have to have that desire in you and then just take the first step. The first step is get your passport.
Yes.
Do a little bit of research so you know where you're going, and then just go and step out into your bravery and just go and do it. And if you aren't I love to travel by myself because I want to do what I want to do. And, it's like we have these friends. I have my resort friends that I won't go to the resorts and do that. But I want to go and walk down obscure streets and pop into little local restaurants and just meet the locals and really experience the whole culture. And so, I think it's really just you stepping out and doing it. I had this friend for the longest time. He always wanted to travel and he talked about that for years. He would say that. And I'm like, Mac, just do it.
Go do it.
Whoa. You're talking a big talk and I know you want to go. And there is that little bit of fear.
Oh, yeah.
But once you go out and you take the step, it opens a whole new world to you.
Yes, it does.
And he did. And he went into the Peace Corps. Then he got to travel all over Africa and Europe and just do all these really cool things that he'd been talking about for years.
Yeah.
But it just took him saying, okay, I'm going to step out and take that step and do it.
I like that. Just do it. It is so easy to, you're researching and you get stuck in researching, and now you're stuck in that like dream state where, oh, I wish, or maybe one day or something like that. Just do it. And getting your passport is like that first push.
And I think sometimes too, you have to be careful of other people because, you know, there were so many places I went to or I traveled to and people were like, oh, you can't go there. Don't go do this. Why do you want to go travel and do this when everything is great right here? Or, you know, after September 11th, why are you going and traveling like first flights out of Denver? You know, going to Europe, and still people are like, oh, what if we go into World War III and all this stuff and you're going to be over there in Europe? I'm like, you know, I'm going to live my life. Right. And so I would say that also, if you want to go and do this and explore and experience so many amazing people and cultures and countries and all this stuff, you can't listen to what other people are going to say, because there will be people who will say, oh, you're moving to Nicaragua. Dangerous for you.
People project their fears and they make it seem like that's the law. Yeah, it's somebody else's fear and you take that on.
They do. And you know what? I have been around the world so many times and I've never felt threatened. I've never felt unsafe. And I have lived in dangerous countries. Like I have lived in South Africa and I have lived in Nicaragua. And they are more dangerous countries. But as a solo woman traveler, you just have to be aware. You really have to be aware of where you are. You have to kind of give off this energy and this vibe, like, don't mess with me.
Exactly.
You know? And so every time I've traveled, I've never... People leave me alone. I think sometimes I probably give off too much of a don't F with me vibe.
Right.
But I'm like, you know, I'm not going clubbing and getting drunk and, you know, which you can do all of those things. There's nothing wrong. You just have to be safe. You have to know your surroundings and your environment. And, you know, if you're a solo traveler, it's always nice to hook up with some other solo travelers that you meet on your journey. But yeah, you really have to be aware.
I like that. How do you find solo travelers while you're out? Because I've used like Facebook groups. And especially for the country that I'm going to visit, maybe there's like different interest groups that are there, and being able to connect with someone just to at least say, you know, I know someone in this country while I'm wandering and exploring. So how do you connect with people on your travels?
So, you know, a lot of my travels were pre-Facebook and pre-cell phones and social media. And so the way we connected back then was the at hostels. And so hostels tended to be like all the international travelers. I've done like exchanges with schools and stuff.
Okay.
And, you know, then you meet a group of people. I've also, when I travel, I try to do some sort of humanitarian give back. I think for me, I feel it's really important to get involved. And so I would research an organization.
Nice.
In one of the towns that I was going to. And then I would get a hold of the organization and then say, hey, I'm going to be here for a week or two. I would love to just come in and volunteer. And usually it was schools or orphanages.
Okay.
And so I would connect with them. And then that would give me local people who spoke the language, who would be a guide for me if I needed it. And then I would go and volunteer in the classroom, whether it was I would teach English or just play with kids for a little bit or help them with any projects that they needed. Like right now, it's really cool. There is this organization called Workaway.
Oh, yes.
You heard of it?
I have.
Yeah. And so I haven't used it, but I have had some friends that have used it. And so I think for myself in my traveling in the future, like if I were to bring my kids with me, I would probably do something like that because it's already established and set up. And then you can
Yes.
find hosts in those countries. So you're still giving back, which, like I was saying, is really important for me when I travel to be able to give back to the country that I'm visiting or the city or the town or whatever. And so
That's so helpful that, I mean, yes, you're traveling, but you're also making sure to include time to give back while you're, boosting yourself on these travels. So that's really neat.
yeah, well, it's like we can learn so much from other cultures and other people
Mm-hmm.
if we take the time and we sit down and have the conversations and get to know them. And that's what makes traveling so enriching, right? I
Right.
mean, we're
Right.
just not there to be our own little island and yeah, we're going to walk around and we're going to see everything, but we're not going to interact with the locals. And like that is my heart for the majority of all my traveling is
Mm-hmm.
find a way to become involved. And that's how I've taught my children as well. Like, when we travel, we haven't traveled a ton outside of the US yet, but I want to be able to go to schools. I want my kids to see how other children go to school, how they live their daily life.
Mm-hmm.
We're big soccer players, and so it's like it's such it's an like they want to go
Right.
to soccer camps in other countries and go play in the fields with them, and it's like the cultural exchange is what I.
Mm-hmm. That's really neat, though. And like you said, you already have an in, there's a common interest. There's going to be a quick conversation to start. That I love that. So, in addition to your humanitarian effort, what else do you consider when you're designing a travel or a trip?
I love. Well, my last one was I went to Peru.
Okay.
So I was going through a divorce, and for me, going up into the mountains, that's a place where I can think and release things and really find peace, And so
Yeah.
I went to Peru by myself. And I will say, as a solo woman traveler, Peru is probably one of the safest countries I've ever been to. And I have
Nice.
to, over 50. Just everyone was just so kind and so beautiful. And I did the Inca Trail. And
Okay.
so, it's a little hard work. It's super rewarding. And actually, what I am doing right now is, I, I hope it's okay that I share this, but I mentor and work with groups of women who have gone through divorce and narcissistic marriages or relationships, and as part of my course at the end, I take them to Peru to do the Inca Trail. And so with traveling, there is a lot of healing and empowerment with that because one, you are stepping out and doing something probably most people aren't like me who I can just get on a plane and blend in
Right.
anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's very empowering for people who are going through a healing journey. I believe as part of their like final empowerment is to do something really brave like this and hard and going up and going somewhere magical like the Peru and the Inca ruins and stuff. It's very, very magical.
I love that you do that. So it's funny you mentioned that. A part of the coaching program that I'm creating is at the end, I want to do an in-person retreat as well. And I like that you're connecting this journey of like healing to the ending where you're meeting with women in Peru and they're able to like, I don't know, like you said, it's like an award, a reward after your hard work, you're pushing through, and then you're able to just join with other people in that same moment. So no, I think that's beautiful.
That's another way to travel as well. And I also, I love, I've been to Nepal and done the Annapurnas in Nepal, and I've been to India a few times and Thailand. I love the beach too. I always tell people I'm like the beach. So you go to the mountains for healing. For me, I go to the mountains for healing and for thinking, but I go to the beach to recharge, to relax. Like we're solar panels, you know, and
Yes.
to be recharged. And so when I just feel like I need to relax, that's when I go to the beaches.
I love that. So my ideal like vacation, if I could, has the mountains in the back and facing a beach, like just to combine those two. It's a
Yes,
wonderful world. I love
yes.
the power of the sea. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many beautiful places around the world that have that. I mean, I don't know where you're in. I'm in Oregon, and so I'm blessed that I have that here. But they're just not warm beaches. It's the Oregon coast. It's cold and windy, but we do have the snowy mountains, and so you know we have both here.
Nice. I'm in Maryland, so we have a bay, and like a man-made beach. There's Ocean City, but that's not exactly like my vacation, my ideal vacation. I think going to like an island would be my go-to.
Yeah, I agree. I always tell my kids, I'm like, I just want to go and be on a tropical, deserted island so I can recharge.
So besides Peru, are there any other countries that you've gone back to multiple times? Like they just keep calling you? What are some of those?
So I've been back to India a few times. You know, there's some countries like India. I feel like everyone should at least experience India once. It's there's nothing like it. It is a feast of the eyes and the food and the people. I mean, it's also a very magical place, and it's such a big country too. And so, you know, sometimes you have to go back to other countries because you need more time to explore. So when the first time I went to India, I stayed kind of in the south and was backpacking around. And then the second time I went back, I really wanted to follow the Ganges from Calcutta all the way up to the source of the Ganges, which is way up in the Himalaya of India. It's, I think it's called Gogantri, and it's the glacier that forms the Ganges.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very holy, spiritual trip. I just wanted to go and, you know, I want to experience everything. And so just being up there in the mountains and the Himalayas is so beautiful, and it's so clean up there. And it's very different from other parts of India that are super crowded. But it was beautiful. And
that sounds wonderful.
You know, it's like the world. There's just so many places I want to explore. So I have been very blessed as well. One of the largest women conferences in the world, well, in the Middle East, was Insight Dubai. I don't know if you've heard of it or if
No, I haven't.
Have you been to Dubai?
I haven't.
So when I did my undergrad, I studied economics and global politics with a focus on women in the Middle East. And so I was invited as a participant to go to one of their first ever women's conferences with Dubai.
Oh, wow.
Dubai Women's College. And so after that, I kept being invited back every year to where I was the lead facilitator for several years. And so that's
pretty cool.
Yeah. It was a really cool experience being able to see Dubai change over those years that I was going there. Like, you know, when I first started going there, many of the women at the university wore the abaya and the shela. And, but as I started to go every year, the women became more Western.
Okay.
You know, and by, I think 2010 was the last year I was in Dubai. at the college there. And there really weren't very many women wearing the abaya and shayla at all. They were all wearing Western clothes, and they were, over those 10 years, you could just see the women coming up into their careers and really stepping into leadership roles in Dubai and the UAE.
Wow. So, before we go on, could you describe the abaya and the shayla?
Okay, so when you think of like Muslim women, and they have their head covered, and so the shayla is the headpiece, and the abaya is like the robe they wear.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And so, and in the beginning too, a lot of women, they wore gloves and stuff, and like maybe they wore the mask so you could only just see their eyes.
Yeah.
At the university. And the conference was really cool, because it was a conference that brought together Western women with Middle Eastern women, and gave us a safe place where we could engage in dialogue and to have some of these big conversations to try to distill some of these myths that both cultures have about each other.
Right. That is wonderful.
Yeah. So if any of your listeners have a chance to participate in any sort of cultural exchange like that, exchange of ideas, exchange of culture and stuff, it's a very cool way to travel as well, and to hook up with a university in that country.
It's really neat. What's an experience that you've had that has just impacted you throughout your travel?
Well, I mean, aside from, they all have, in some way, shape, or form. But I think one of the biggest things is I never knew this. I never knew that I was manifesting all these travels into my life. I'm very good about manifesting travels, as in like, hey, I want to go there, and then it just all unfolds and I go there. And this was when I was much younger. I don't think people talked about manifesting as much. I just was like, I want to go. And so, do you remember The Lonely Planet?
Yeah.
Because that's still around. So the Lonely Planet used to say you're going on like a shoestring budget, traveling around the world. I used to always say, I'm going on a dental floss budget. Like I would go to these places and show up, and I wouldn't have a whole lot, which is reasons why I would volunteer and do other things, because I really wanted to have that full experience. So some of what was the question again? Like some of the lessons?
A lesson that stuck with you, or just a travel that impacted you in a way.
Yeah. I think just being culturally sensitive and culturally aware of the places you go to, and being respectful. I don't know if that was like this big thing, but that's what's coming to my head right now. Yeah. I think probably that, just, when you're traveling, just, be respectful and really step out and get to know the everyday people, because they're just as excited to get to know you, and they want to know why you've come to their town or their village. I like to go to the obscure countries, the less traveled, and just to get real. But
that's a beautiful mindset too. Just be excited, because they're probably as excited to talk to you too. So don't be so isolated. Yeah.
Well, and I've had so many funny stories too. Like who pushes your own taxi in the middle of the night? Me. Or like, I remember one time I was in Kenya. It was in Kenya, kind of out by Lake Victoria, and the bus we were on got stuck in the mud, and so everyone had to get off the bus and push the bus out of the mud.
Right. Oh, wow.
And so you have to roll with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to factor if you're going to travel the way I travel, you just have to roll with it. But then that's when you see life, and then you have really good stories. Like, how many vehicles have I pushed in the middle of the mud puddles, or, you know, yeah, a lot.
I love that. A lot. I pushed a lot.
Okay. I go to, they're still driving, the 1956 Datsun of some, you're just lucky. You're just praying that you make it.
And that's a bonding experience in itself, I'm sure.
It is. I went to university in South Africa for a year, and I went home with a friend of mine. She's Kenyan. And so that's what I love too, being able to really see the country the way the locals see it. And so I had 2 months, and she was just taking me all over Kenya and Tanzania, showing me around. And I was like, well, let's do all the local stuff. And so in Kenya, well, in most countries of the world, a lot of their taxis are old minivans. And they don't leave until the minivan is loaded. And I mean, like, ain't no one wearing seatbelts.
Yep.
Laps are scrunched. And so, here I'm like, I want the full experience. Yeah. When I found out that the air-conditioned bus was like $1, I'm like, why am I in this taxi for 10 cents when we can get an air-conditioned nice bus for $1?
For only $1. You got your full experience.
I experienced it. I was like, okay, I'm good.
You know what, though? That's the neat thing, too, is at least you did it. And then you can say, you know what? I'm good. I now know that I'll pay that $1, right? Yeah.
On my head and like really bad BO in my face. Like,
that's the best part. You learned your lesson. And yeah.
Right?
You're not going to be able to know that if you don't do it. So.
I went around for a couple weeks like that because she didn't tell me that, there's an air-conditioned, like, really
you didn't know there was another option?
She knew. She didn't tell me. She's like, well, Stephany, you want to do what the locals are doing. This is what they do.
Exactly.
Well, I want to do what the locals, but, I have $1. I don't have a lot, but I have $1.
Like it. Okay, so what changes in yourself have you noticed as you begin this travel journey?
You become more confident, more confident and secure in yourself. The world becomes smaller, and I can say that I have genuine friends all over the world. I know I've always kept in touch with them, and thank you to Facebook. It's much easier and with cell phones and WhatsApp and stuff. But I can genuinely say, like, okay, if I'm going to go to Peru, I've met some incredible people in Peru.
Yeah.
And I know that I can go there and I can see them again. And we've continued these relationships. Or when I was in India, I remember meeting this family, and I met this little boy, and we stayed in touch for years, and still, he's a friend of mine on Facebook. He's a grown man and has children, and he's like, back to India again, auntie. I'm like, but like,
wow.
If for me, that's what I love, the connection and the people, and if any of them were ever to come here and visit me, and some of them have, and it's like, well, now I get to show them around.
Right.
And so, just the connections, the relationships, you learn that there are many ways of doing things. And I think so often when we are born and raised in the West, in the United States, we have sometimes we can have this very narrow view. And I mean, in anyone, I can say that with any country, a narrow view of our country. But when we go and we start having conversations and we start meeting people with other backgrounds and other experiences, we can say, hey, here's another way to do things.
Absolutely.
It's not right or wrong. It's just a different way. And so it really gives you this huge perspective comes to life. And, again, I have 3 boys. And so I like to challenge them in their thinking, because they'll come home and say something like, well, this and this and this. I'm like, okay, well, people in India, they believe this way, or people in Thailand, they do this. And does it mean it's right or wrong? No, it's just a different way. It's a different belief, a different way of doing it. And we can really learn so much from other cultures and people. Like, another example is I love to cook, and I love learning about other foods in other countries. And so I will sit with the families that I meet and just ask them, hey, teach me how to make this. And then I come home and I make it. But
what are some of your favorite things to make?
I love Thai food. So I love the curries, the green curries, the little wraps and stuff. I make those. I love Indian food, hot and spicy, and samosas and the curries. In Peru, they make this really, really good quinoa soup. So quinoa is like a Peruvian staple. There are thousands of different kinds of quinoa. Just
did not know that.
I know.
Yeah, look, new learned fact. I did not know that.
But you're not going to learn all that by just watching. I mean, you'll see it on, there's so many YouTube channels where people are traveling and you can see it, but to go to those markets, to, see all the beautiful foods, or the spice markets in the Middle East. I love the spice markets. There's so many things that we can't get here in the U.S. or we don't have, but so many different fruits and foods and spices and flavors and combinations. And I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's your favorite self-care practice when you are traveling?
Well, I feel like traveling is my self-care.
Okay.
Like taking the time out to go and to visit these places or to do these things. But I do try to have some maybe more thoughtful time to myself. So if I'm in the mountains, I like to do meditations up there, or I'm an EFT practitioner. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's...
Could you explain what EFT?
Yeah, EFT, it's emotional freedom techniques, and it's tapping. It's a way to rewire our brain and our thinking, and it's a way to sit with emotions, like really heavy, overwhelming emotions or trauma. It's a way to sit with it and then release it all from our body, and then build new neuroconnectors in our brain by tapping into the person that we are becoming and we want to become. And so like being in Peru and sitting in the ruins and being up there is just a very magical spiritual place, and being able to tap and release all this negativity, or release all this traumas and the anger or whatever it is,
Right.
It's a good place to do all of that. So I do, that would be one of my self-cares. And if I'm near a beach, my other self-care would be get on the beach.
Yes. Yes.
Although I did the Annapurnas in Nepal, and then my kind of relaxing reward after doing the Annapurnas was going to Thailand and sitting on the beach. Well, I forgot that I was living in Colorado at the time, so I was very white. And I went to the beach with my baby oil.
No.
I don't recommend.
Oh no.
got the worst sunburn that I've ever had in my entire life. And it wasn't on my shoulders or my chest or my face. It was on my freaking leg.
Like, what do you do with that?
I would totally lift my leg up and show you, but it looked like I had leprosy. I got this really, really intense sunburn. And when it finally went away, it took a couple months to heal.
Oh, wow.
It was insane. And now on one of my legs, on my shin, it's just a big giant row of freckles. It's Thailand. So every time I look at my leg, I'm like, oh, baby oil in Thailand.
Memories.
Memories.
Who needs a travel tattoo?
Do that. I know. Who needs the patch for your backpack when you can have a nice row of freckles forever?
Oh, no.
So every time I look at my leg, I'm like, yeah, that was in my early 20s.
Lessons learned. Lessons
learned. So sunscreen and
right.
The sun in some of these countries are more intense than you used to.
And we went to I was in Colorado a couple of weeks ago. Now we're saying other countries, but just being aware that sometimes the sun is different in another state. And
yes.
So being up there, I think people were assuming that it was the same as, like, you know, like I said, I'm here in Maryland or being on the East Coast or the West Coast. So adding the sun, that high altitude, everyone was dehydrated, and people had to, like, it took them a couple of days to realize, oh yeah, we should try to acclimate and drink more water and use my sunscreen all the time. So
yes.
Yeah, research is important.
Yes. So I do recommend when you travel to always bring some sunscreen.
I like it.
Maybe some toilet
okay.
paper too.
You know,
just saying.
Yeah. Do you build like a little travel kit?
I do. Yeah. And so I feel like I've perfected the art of packing the backpack to where it is just what you need.
Oh, nice.
How many times have we traveled and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to wear this shirt. I'm going to do that. I don't even wear that at home.
100%.
Those are clothes that just chill in my closet. But we think, like, when we travel, oh, I'm definitely going to wear that shirt.
That'll be the time. Yeah.
That will be the time. No, if you don't wear it at home, you're not wearing it on your travels. So,
and does it still fit? Like, these are the things. I'm sorry. I love that you mentioned that. Actually, I'm going to include a link for a travel kit. Just keeping it simple, something light for those of us who like to overpack, and for those who have got it down pat. They're able to put everything in a backpack.
Yes.
So yes, I feel like I think I would like to try it. I don't know about committing to it, but I think I'd like to try to see if I can figure out how to pack just a backpack.
Yes. Yes.
And figure that out. Yeah.
A big backpack can be, because you have to carry it too. So
exactly.
And if you go to like some of the more obscure countries, where you're pushing taxis, there's no one carrying your bag for you either. And the ground is usually all dirt. And so you can't even roll your suitcase.
Right.
So really you have to
backpack.
Be aware of where you're going and how much stuff you're taking. Because if you are doing more of the non-touristy places, more of the obscure places, yeah, you'll be pulling your suitcase down a dirt road.
Right.
You're going to wear the same thing multiple days in a row. It's cool.
Keep it light.
Keep it light.
Before we go, please, what do you have coming up, or tell the people how we can find you and get in touch with you and just see what's going on with you?
Yeah, well, I am working on my website right now, so I don't have that yet, but you can find me on Facebook, and I'll give you those links at Stephany Ann or the Door of Freedom. And so my next trip that I'm planning is what I was telling you. I'm taking a group of 10 people. I want to keep it small and intimate. And we're going to go to Peru in January and do the Inca Trail. This is for people who are in my 12-week program. So I will get you a link to all of that as well, because that will start in October. And so it is a healing trip. But, there's sightseeings and other things too. But it's with the small group of people that I'll be working with and doing EFT and other things. It's a very intimate container where we can heal together and then really step out into our bravery and into our empowerment and do something like the Inca Trail. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, we can just say, hey, here's the new me. I've transformed. And that's what traveling does. It will transform you, whether you're just going by yourself to do something fun, or whether you're doing like the retreats or the healing containers, kind of what I'm doing. It will transform you.
Awesome. Yeah, please send me the link so I can share that. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I really appreciate it. And I loved hearing your stories.
Yes, thank you for having me. I love to encourage people to go, because what better way to experience life than to really, it's a big world out there. Go explore, go find a mountain, go climb it, go sit on a cool beach, I
love it. Yes. All right. If you're looking for an excuse to travel in October, I'm hosting a wellness retreat in a location that requires a passport. There's space for 10 ladies, and with this trip, you can attend live coaching sessions to plan out your first solo trip. So please invite a friend so you guys can bond together over this amazing experience. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining me. I am excited to talk to you next week. Bye.